All right. I guess we'll go ahead and get started. It's 8 o'clock. So, welcome to Talking Swimming with the Fish. This is our last episode. I'm Curtis.
I'm Coach Kim.
And we're going to be talking about starts and turns. The first thing I want to do is show everybody a really good video of Caleb Dressel doing a start. This is from the Olympic trials in Omaha just a couple of weeks ago. You'll be able to see everybody in the heat doing the start. This is the 100-meter butterfly finals. In Dressel, break a world record. All right, so that was a very quick start. As you can see up in the upper left-hand corner of the screen, it's got the reaction times, and he was second. He's always very, very quick. So we'll get back to Caleb Dressel in a second. Well, we'll watch the video a little bit more in a second. So this is his start. I pulled these images right out of that video. And you can see that on the far left, he's getting set up. He's putting his feet where he wants them. In the second photo, he's kind of getting those arms forward. He pulled really hard. He wants to get his weight over that front foot. And then in the third photo, he's getting those arms into his streamline. And then the last photo, you can see that he's already in that really great streamline position. So we'll be talking about this here. So the first part of starts is your foundation, getting yourself set up so that you're nice and comfortable on the block and feeling like you could stand there or be in that position for a very long time. Because you never know what the starter is going to do, but you want to be ready to go. And so that means putting your feet where you want them. Obviously, as you step onto the block, you're going to be adjusting your feet. You put your one foot, your preferred foot, forward, and you're going to get those toes over the edge. And then you want to give yourself a little bit of space between your feet, right? Where you don't have to keep them in a straight line. You're not on a balance beam. So you want to give yourself a little bit of room. Stand comfortably. Give yourself about a one of your own hands or foot distance between your feet, left and right, and then forwards and backwards. That way you are nice and comfortable and your feet are in the right position to give yourself a lot of power, and you're not going to fall over, right? That would be a little embarrassing. So what we're going to try to do is make sure that your feet are in the right place. And then as you lean all the way over, you're going to grab onto the edge with your fingertips and make sure that you have a nice solid grip on the edge of your block, right? You're going to try to hold on with just the front part of your hand, right? We don't want to put our palm all the way down over the block. You'll see that, but that means that we're also leaning too far forward and putting too much weight on those arms, right? We want to be able to be tight with our arms so that when we use them, you're going to pull your body forward over the edge and then push off with those feet. So you're not a rubber band, even though you can't lean too far forward. We also don't want to pull too far back. You don't want to lean all the way back so that you're sitting on your heels either. So there's a little bit of a balance that you've got to do, and you've got to play around with it and find what works best for you. So the second part, we look back at Dressel really quick. In that second photo, he had just pulled on the block and his arms are actually pulling behind almost to his hips. And then he's got to throw them back forward. And that's what you see in the third photo. So it's a little bit of a struggle. You've got to use some really quick muscles. It definitely helps if we are taking off from a block. I know that a lot of you guys are doing NVSL. And so if you're taking off from the edge of the pool, you have a little bit less air time. So we have to adjust and make sure that your hands are still going straight forward into that streamline and maybe not pulling back as hard as you can from a block.
Right. And always try and be aggressive off the block. Try not to just fall into the water. I know some of you might be a little bit hesitant sometimes, and maybe especially for the younger ones, because the block might be too high and you might be afraid of the height. But as you become more comfortable with the block and the height of the block, always try and, like Coach Curtis said, try and be powerful and aggressive off the block, because you will get more distance off the block and you'll be able to get faster and stronger off the block as you become more comfortable with it.
So yeah, using those arms, pulling and shifting that weight forward over the edge with your arms before you start really extending those legs and launching out over the water. And then once you are in the air, throwing those hands right back up into that streamline and getting your head in between those arms. As we show this next, the later video with Caleb Dressel, you'll see that he does a really good job of keeping that head down and just maneuvering his body around his spine, right? So let's watch that real quick. All right, so this is him in slowed down. You can see him flinching right there, and he's pulling on the block, right? He's grabbing onto the block. He's got just the knuckles of his hands over the edge. He's got that tension, and you can see him flexing as he pushes forward and then throws those arms all the way out and into that streamline. Oh, let's do one more at full speed. There we go. So that's really quick, right? And then obviously he's got those really great underwaters that help him out and keep his speed. So when you're doing a start, that's probably the fastest you're going to go in the entire race, because you don't have any drag, right? You're full strength launching off of a block and falling with the help of gravity. So keeping that speed by using those underwater kicks is really advantage. So yeah, keeping your whole body nice and straight. As you can see in this photo with this slide, we've got this girl here who has this really great body line. Her head is tucked all the way down. She's pointing her toes, which is really helpful, right? That way, all of her muscles from her fingertips all the way down to her toes are tight. So yeah, those are really good starts.
And even if you see her head, like Coach Curtis said, her head is pointed down, even her chin is tucked. And that's really important, because for those of you who are learning, who are just learning how to dive, if you keep your chin up, sometimes you might belly flap, or and that might really hurt your tummy. So you always want to make sure that you're in a really tight streamline and your chin is tucked at all times, so you can get that really beautiful angle that girl has right there with that yellow cap. So always keep that chin tucked. That's very important.
So with all of our dives, we want to be ready before they call you to take your mark. So as soon as you stand up on that block, as soon as you get your body up there, starting to put your feet in position. If you have a wedge, hopefully you've already set it so that you can set your back foot onto it. And then getting yourself ready for your race before they even tell you to take your mark. Curling your toes over the edge, making sure that you've got enough space left and right so that you don't fall over. And then using just your fingertips to grab onto the edge of the block. And then balancing your weight, right? And then staying tall, as you can see in this photo. She's got her legs extended. She isn't quite taking her mark. This is probably right before they've told her to. But her body is in the right position. Her head is down. She's got a pretty flat back. And as she takes her mark, hopefully she'll tighten up those muscles in her arms and then extend those legs just a little bit more to raise her hips. All right, so we have a couple of drills that I like to do. The first one is a cactus drill. Everyone knows what a standard cactus looks like, right? It's a tall tree, but then you've got these two arms that stick straight up. And so you're just going to start here, and you're just going to work on being really fast from your cactus position into the streamline. Just shooting those hands all the way up forward. You saw it in those photos with Caleb Dressel, and it's the same idea. So just making sure that your muscles are used to it, holding those arms all the way out to your sides, opening up that chest, and then throwing them together into that really great tight streamline behind your head. So that's a drill that you can work on at any time. Someone else can help you out and give you a start, and you can just do it on land. Yep. Another thing that we can work on with starts is a coordinated takeoff. So we want to use all of the muscles in our body to do our starts, right? So you're pulling with your arms right before you start pushing with your legs. And it's a lot of coordination. So just your basic squat jumps can really help. Holding your streamline, squatting all the way down, and then jumping straight up. Or if you want to do a full start, you can take your hands, make sure that you touch the ground or your feet, and then jump straight up and make your streamline. And then just working on keeping those legs long. There's another drill that I like to do is a single leg drill, a leg up. You're keeping your back leg straight out behind you as you take your mark. And so what you have to do is you have to balance on your front foot and pull forwards, shifting your weight, and then launch with that front foot, and then also bring it up to match the back foot, which is already in position. And so that one takes a lot of balance. It's a pretty advanced drill, but it's one that's a little fun because it's different. And using those legs, really kicking them up behind you can also give you a lot of power. So just think about that as you do your starts.
Yep.
All right, we're gonna move on. We're gonna do some flip turns. So the overall flip turn that we do for freestyle and backstroke starts with our head. You're tucking your chin all the way down to your chest, and the faster you can move your head down, the faster you're going to start that rotation. Whatever you do in life, anytime that you're doing any kind of board sports or any other ball sports, anything like that, anytime that you're turning your head, your body is always going to shift a little bit to follow your eyes, right? And so the faster we can tuck our head down, the faster we're going to roll into our ball. Tucking your chin down, your body will follow your head. And you want to think about bringing your knees all the way up. So it's not just starting from your head and following down. Both parts of your body are going to work together to make yourself into that tiny little ball as fast as you can. So your knees have to come all the way up to your chest, making sure that your eyes look right at them is a really good way for you to make sure that you can get that solid and small position. If you've ever seen ice skaters, when they do their spins, they start with those arms all the way out, and they do a really slow spin. And then as they pull their arms all the way in, they rotate really quickly. And the whole point of that is that they're moving their center of gravity or their mass all the way into a really tight position. And that's what makes them able to rotate really quickly. And so that's what we're trying to do here with our chin down and knees all the way up, just like this middle picture here. It's a little exaggerated, but it's fine. And then the third part of our flip turn is making sure that you've got it streamlined before you push off the wall. Just setting yourself up, making sure that you have a really good straightforward path through the water and not down to the bottom of the pool or up too fast to the surface. So you can see in this third picture, this bottom picture, this girl is just blowing bubbles, but she's in the right position. She's got a really flat back, which is important. And her feet are the, I guess her legs and body is the correct distance from the wall.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she looks pretty relaxed. We're going to watch Ryan Lochte do his flip turn. He's got a really great flip turn. So he's coming into the wall. The video slows down. You can see him taking his very last stroke. He initiates the turn with his head. He's got a really good, tight body. His feet are the right position or right distance away. And he's getting that really solid push. So obviously he's practiced this a million times. He knows exactly where he wants to turn to get his body into the wall at the right distance. You can see him throwing those arms into his streamline as he pushes off. As he is famous for, he's pushing off more onto his back than his belly. But you know, you can work on that as you are pushing off, extending by rolling your shoulders as you are getting away from that wall. We don't want to do that too early because we don't want to make our turns crooked, but yeah, getting ourselves into the right position is really important before we get away from that wall.
And he was also, I don't know if you guys were noticed, but he was also guiding himself with one arm and tucking really tight. That's important to do also. You don't want to necessarily have your hands out here and then flipping. You want to guide yourself with one arm and stay tucked, like really tight, like Coach Curtis said, in a nice little ball and as tight as you can, because you want to decrease that resistance as much as possible and then sneak up those arms into a nice streamline when you push off the wall. So remember to guide that one arm into your freestyle flip turn just like this and then sneak up into a nice streamline, just like that middle picture has with that nice, I'm sure he's a nice man that's doing a flip turn and that nice tight ball right there in the middle of your screen.
All right, some things that we want to avoid here. This is that same picture that we just saw in the upper right-hand corner, but it's a lot bigger. This first picture in the upper left, she's looking for the wall, which is not real great. She's lifting up that head, and that usually means that you're trying to start your momentum into that turn. We don't want that, right? Because that pulls all of our weight up and out of the water. And really, we want to go the opposite direction. So knowing exactly where you want to make your turn is really important. Obviously, in backstroke, we're using our backstroke flags, right? We have our count, or if you're really advanced, you can know the exact distance that you want to use to turn. But I still use a count. I think it's great. There's no reason not to use a stroke count. So that you take your last stroke, you roll all the way over, and then you can just tuck your chin all the way down like we had talked about. So you can see that a little bit in the second photo in the middle. upper middle. One of the things that we want to avoid is in the third photo, the upper right. You can see her legs are still extended all the way out. She hasn't bent her knees at all to bring her heels close to her butt. And that's going to slow down her rotation. Right?
Yep.
So avoid doing that. Try to think about really whipping their heels back towards your butt. You don't want to let them air out. That's really slow. It also makes this really big splash, and that'll slow you down as your feet enter into the water and they hit with a really big splash. That's going to cause you a lot of turbulence and lose you and cause you to gain a little bit of time.
Yeah.
So hiding those heels and your legs into that turn is really important. And then in the lower left, she's not quite into a really tight ball. Her knees never came into her chest. And so that's going to slow her down, as well as she's looking at the wall, right? If you had done your preparation and you knew where you were in the pool by looking at the bottom or counting your backstroke strokes, you shouldn't have to look for the wall to place your feet.
Right. And she's also not in that 90-degree angle with her legs that we saw. That was really nice. And she's kind of, it looks like she's almost about to turn off, turn onto the wall. So she's not in that nice, like we saw with Lokti, how she was nice in that 90-degree angle with her legs on the wall. So.
But she does come off in a really good streamline in this lower right. She's getting rid of her air to help her balance where she is in the water. And hopefully she's doing dolphin kicks.
Yeah.
We'll see. All right. We got to move on to open turns. Open turns are a lot of fun. It's really hard to do a good open turn. You've got to be really conscious of where your hips and body are. That's the most important part of a turn, open turn, because you have to literally just swap positions with your shoulders and hips. So we have these three pictures. They're pretty good at giving us a good overall view of our open turns. You've got the two-hand touch finish, which is always important, right? Anytime you're doing fly or breaststroke into the wall, you always got to touch with two hands. In the middle photo, there's that little circle underneath the A part. You can see that the feet are straightened out. The knees are coming all the way up to the chest. And then in the bigger B part, they're moving those hips and feet to the wall. That's not too bad. You can also see that they're pushing that elbow back. One of the things that I teach is called elbow your brother and call your mother. It's a really great saying that rhymes and makes it easy for you to think about. And essentially it just means that you're going to take that elbow and you're going to push it back really hard and fast. And you're going to turn your shoulders to get a little bit more power into that elbow, right? And from there, you've got to apologize. So you've got to call your mom and you're going to lift that arm all the way up to your head. So using that little rhyme can help a lot of kids, and it's made my turns really quick. So yeah, if you touch with two hands, you get to pick which arm you want to use, which side that you prefer. Maybe in a race, you're in lane 1 and you want to look all the way down towards lane 8, right? So you want to make sure that you're choosing the right side to turn to. Or maybe if you're in the middle and you want to make sure that you can see the competition on both sides of you, you can turn to one side, and then as you push off, peek out of the corner of your goggles at the opposite side.
Don't peek too long though. And make sure your hands are simultaneous when you touch that wall. Okay.
So in this middle picture, what you can do is as you're pulling those knees up and you're elbowing back, as those shoulders turn, you're also going to be turning your hips and bringing them all the way up to the wall. So it's a big combination of things. But yes, pushing back with your elbow will help you bring up the opposite hip and your butt towards the wall. And so that can make it really fast.
Yeah.
And then once you have your call your mother in position, your hand is here by your head, your other arm can shoot straight out and they can join together into a streamline and you can leave the wall. We've already talked about streamlining before you get off the wall. Let's take a quick look at the Olympic trials. This is the 200 fly final. You've got Haley Flickinger and Reagan Smith. And they're going to be, this is specifically the 100 turn, and then it'll go into the 150 turn. So they're coming here into the wall. They've got really great streamlines coming off. And they're not resting at all. They're barely taking that breath, right? All right, here's the underwater view coming up.
They come off the wall very quickly, and look at those underwaters. Great undulation.
We're gonna watch that again. It's really fast. What they're doing is getting into that last stroke and then pulling those knees up. And they're really able to pivot and stomp those feet on the ground, or sorry, on the wall. But all open turns are just about pivoting your body, making sure that you're getting that shoulder all the way back and ready to go, and then bringing those hips up to the wall. So that's pretty much all we've got. If you have any questions, we'll be around to answer them. There was a lot of stuff. I know
Yeah,
we had
threw at you right there.
but it's sort of like 3 different topics
Yeah.
jammed all together. So yeah, let us know what you have concerns about. If you need
Questions.
any other drills, we didn't really talk about a lot of the flip turn drills. One of the things that you can do is just slow it down,
Yeah.
break it apart into little bits. As you come into the wall, tucking that head down and flipping straight over, and then placing those feet right where you want them, and just pause, just stop while you're upside down. And then you can check your feet. You can make sure that your arms are in streamline, and then push off.
Another common thing that we see people, coming into the wall and they breathe and they wait and then they go into their flip turn. Not that we want to see people breathing into their wall, but we definitely don't want to see anybody picking up their head to breathe into the wall. If you absolutely have to take a breath, breathe to the side and then go into your flip turn. It'll help with your one arm, like we spoke about before, guiding yourself into that flip turn. But we don't want you breathing into the wall, but you absolutely have to. Please don't pick up your head. That'll increase resistance like we spoke about before. So take that breath if you have to, and then go into that guiding arm into that flip turn.
All right. How do you do the back to breast flip turn for AM? I assume that they mean the crossover turn. That's going to take a lot of practice. It starts with your regular backstroke finish, right? You're going to count your normal strokes, but as you do your last stroke, you've got to make sure that that's the arm that is on top of the water. All right, and then you're able to tuck your chin all the way down, do your flip, and kind of push off a little bit more towards your belly. It's something that takes a lot of practice because it's very different. It's very familiar, but it's also a little awkward because it's not the same as the freestyle flip turns that you're probably used to. Someone has asked, when you call your mother, should you look at your hand? When I teach it, I tell people not to. All right, so if you're going into the wall, you're going to touch with two hands. As your elbow goes back, I actually want you to look at the side of the pool because your elbow is going to be all the way back here. You want to keep your head in line with the rest of your body as your arm is touching the wall. And so as you call your mother, you're already sideways into your sideways in your body position, and you're ready to push off into a streamline closer to your belly. So I know that a lot of people teach turns as touch, and you're going to look up or forwards. And I think you can make it even quicker by keeping your head with the front of your chest and just look sideways.
Mm-hmm.
How many strokes before could you take a breath before a flip turn?
That's preference.
I think when I'm doing my group, I usually talk about the rules set. And we have a rule where you want at least one stroke before your flip turn because you want your body to go into that wall as straight as possible. So if you're taking a breath on that very last stroke and it comes all the way over, there's a good chance that you're going to be a little more diagonal. So I would say probably one stroke before you do your flip turn, and then keeping that head still at least one stroke after the flip turn. When you elbow your brother and call your mother, do you look at the wall? So no, again, so if I'm turning from, and Kim is my wall, right? I'm going to two-hand touch. Everything moves so that my face is sideways with my elbow, and then my other arm comes up and over, and I'm already sideways. So I'm facing one of the lane lines and not the wall. All right, I guess that's it. I hope you enjoyed our series. If you are interested in joining the fish, you can visit us at our website, pvfish.org. And yeah, good luck.